This is going to get you on the road to preventing your sabotage or your ghosting, whether it is because it's your behavior or because your body takes you out.
Welcome to the Body Energetix Podcast. I'm your host, 23-year fitness professional, Lauren Saracione. I started my hero's journey of reconnecting with my inner child to heal my mind-body disorders 14 years ago. In this podcast, I share my 3-step system to renew your mind, regulate your emotions, and regenerate your body. Go to bodyenergetix.com to join my free community where each week we expand on the theme of the current episode so you can reconnect your mind body to restore your physical health and create your desired aesthetic.
Welcome to episode number 23 of the Body Energetix podcast. Body Energetix is my 3-part system to renew your mind, regulate your emotions, and regenerate your body. It's a system that I put together over my 23-year career in the fitness space, as well as my 14-year inner journey when I was diagnosed with PTSD and stopped binge eating and learned how the inner child influences our life. And it wasn't until ongoing throughout my journey that I realized my health issues and then my big health catastrophes were caused by the inner child. And I dove into so many different scientists and researchers and metaphysical spiritual meanings of why things happen within the universe and then how those things interact with our physical body from a science-based perspective. What that did for me long term was create an understanding that I could heal. That all these beautiful, altruistic, metaphysical quotes about the universe being connected, being supported by God, being able to create our own reality weren't just niceties and positive affirmations to help us through the day, but they had evidence of how they were showing up in the physical body. When I found the evidence of how these were showing up in the physical body, it gave me belief and faith in myself that I could change my mindset and the feelings I had about myself and how my body was manifesting in chronic pain, tension, how it was coming down with sicknesses whenever I set a goal or reached a milestone, or how my body would flare after my injury in my neck whenever I was onto something, like whenever I was making progress or whenever I got scared. I would have physical symptoms that would really just help me not have to face my fears. Part of that I learned actually when I was 17 and I had reconnected with a caregiver. And in that reconnection with the caregiver, I got sick over and over again. And I was so glad to be able to say, I can't go, I can't see you because I'm in bed sick. I was 17, and in that moment, there was a little light bulb flicker of, isn't this interesting? My body is helping me get out of something. Well, that little flicker has turned into a completely lights on awareness of how the inner child is showing up through the nervous system, through our body, and also creating our reality. So I'm very excited to share this episode with you because we are talking today about the fears and fantasies of the dream body. Now, if you're noticing behind me, I have 5 Post-its on the wall. It's because these are the first 5 members of the Body Energetix community. If you go to bodyenergetix.com, you'll have a little button that says join community now, where you can use all of the tools that I share with you on YouTube, on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, and on this podcast, which is really turning into a masterclass series where I'm going to share with you the why you would want to put in this work to reconnect with your inner child and demystify the woo-woo that might come along with your perception of what inner child work is. So these members, I'm so excited, and I'm so excited to have this wall just fill up with all different colors of Post-its as more and more people join the group. It's free because this is information that when I was coming across it and making sense of the universal laws, all these nice metaphysical quotes, and what was going on in our body, that they were saying the same thing, I thought, you know what? This is something that we all should know. So I'm giving you the tools for free because in my heart of hearts, I believe that you should have them no matter what. You will be able to use my tools and get results. And you can win coaching on the first Saturday of the month. One of three people will win this based on their leaderboard. So bodyenergetics.com is on a new platform that keeps track of your interaction. It gamifies your interaction. So the more work you put in for yourself, two things are going to happen. Number one, you're going to get results. And number two, you get to meet with me on that monthly coaching call to fine tune and really like share your experience and get validation that, like, yeah, that inner child stuff that happened to you was a big deal. And look at how incredible you are. Look at how far you've come. What would you like to do next? And really have a support system, almost like a parent, to help you take yourself to the next level. There will always be a next level. As soon as you are complacent with your results, that complacency kind of like stops the energy and you go unconscious, quote unquote, unconscious in the habits that got you to the status that you got complacent with. We don't want that to happen. Everything wants to grow. Grass can grow through concrete. And so we want to constantly be in a growth mindset. That doesn't mean we're overachieving, we're being a perfectionist, or we're running ourselves into the ground. It is a growth mindset that we are going to stay in the driver's seat and we are going to bring that inner child, our angry teen, our ego, our shadow with us, because those parts of us that we are running from, that are protecting the pain of the inner child, are our power. And once you heal, you can see the magnificence of your power and who you are and what you came here to do. So bodyenergetics.com, join the group. I would love to see your name on this wall behind me. Like I said, this episode is about our fantasies and fears. So we're going to get into the why, what, the metaphysical meaning, the how things happen, what becomes of it, and then, of course, how we are going to correct what is happening in our body and in our life. The fears and fantasies of our dream body are there because of how we made sense of negative emotion we were feeling in our body at a young age that we didn't understand. So this can be in 0 to 18 months, or this can be at any time something, a feeling that we had, an emotion that we had, which gives us information about our life experience. When the emotion or the feeling is not validated by a caregiver to say, wow, yeah, that was scary. Yeah, I could imagine my feelings would be hurt too. And allow us to feel those emotions and just sit with us and be with us as we're experiencing those things. That allows our reality to be validated. If we do not have that, the reality, what it is to be human, is invalidated. So all we are left with is our primitive mind, right? Because we're underdeveloped, we're children, or we go into a deep dorsal response from the trauma. That means that we leave our body, the sensations in our body, because on a primitive level, the dorsal of the fawn or freeze response is so that we won't feel being eaten. That's how deep it goes into the primitive mind to self-preserve sensation. So if we're young at that 0 to 18 months, or there's something that does not get validated as we're growing, even if we're an adult, if it is too overwhelming and we check out into dorsal, the base primitive structure of our life, we have to make sense eventually with what that meant. So we end up creating a false reality, a painful reality that needs to be prevented from experiencing, because we're making that mean that we are bad or the world is unsafe. So then we have all these protection mechanisms to prevent that feeling from happening. And we also could have created in that escaped disconnection of the mind body system at that young age or at an age the feelings weren't validated, that is the fantasy. That is what we would rather be experiencing than whatever bad experience it just escaped from. This is how the fantasies and the fears are created. And when we have this mindset that is going between fantasy and fear, you can also think of it as your conscious mind of desire, what you want, which is 3 to 5%, or your unconscious fears, what you don't want, the primitive mind. So we're constantly on this battle of extreme fantasy and positive emotion and extreme fear of negative emotion. And our job is to come back to the center, which means that we are connecting with the reasons why our mind created the fantasy or the fear because of the state of the emotional body, the feeling sensation that was happening. So, this is our real battle when we're trying to reach our goals with our dream body. So, I'm going to share with you some of the physical reactions on the subconscious level that keep you sick or in pain, as well as how we might be creating this for us with our actions and with our sabotaging behaviors. This is going to help you understand what's going on energetically, emotionally, and mentally on the ranges of follow through, ghosting, and sabotaging yourself on your way to your dream body. How we're going to reunite this together with our inner child of the conscious fantasy and the unconscious fear is we're going to reframe how we're looking at our actions, especially the ghosting, where we just don't follow through with our habits, or the outright sabotage, maybe if we emotionally eat or we dump our diet on the weekends only to start again on Monday. So let's talk about the trigger, the thing that causes whatever is going to happen on your range of follow through, ghosting, and sabotage. The trigger is the attachment to your goal, to your dream body. And what happens is we believe whatever object it is that we're attached to. So in this case, we're talking about the dream body. You have your goal to lose 10 pounds or to get stronger or to change your body composition. Maybe you don't care about how much you weigh, but you're like, you know what? I'd really like to grow a butt. I'd really like to have nice shoulders. I'd really like to see some ab lines. Whatever it is that you're focusing your attention on, your conscious 3 to 5% that says, this is what I want. Part of the reason why that's what you want is because the emotions that we created in the fantasy of that disassociated state are the same emotions as the ones you think you're going to experience if you reach your goal. So one of the big things in goal setting is that you visualize what you want. So it's like, okay, I'm going to feel comfortable in a bathing suit. I'm not going to worry about going to a party on the weekend if I can trust myself around food. I'm going to attract a partner that thinks I'm wildly desirable and they're going to cherish me with all their heart. I'm going to live by example and my business is going to explode. I'm going to walk in confidently to a meeting, to a boardroom meeting with a pencil skirt and be like, boom, here's my presentation. Where's my promotion? Like whatever it is that you have the fantasy of your life experience is going to be because of you reaching the goal, that's where the attachment starts and that's where the trigger gets set because we're literally funneling energy into our becoming, into our self validation and actualization. Whatever it is that you have seen yourself as being and experiencing because of that dream body actualization, those emotions associated with that feeling are the same ones as the fantasy that you created as a kid to not be bad and to validate yourself. So as we went through life and we have this base emotion that we escape the feeling of, but still lives on forever and ever and ever, because we have that base emotion, it kind of drives us to become the person to never have that emotion again. So what happens is we take those fantasies of how not to have that emotion and we put them into various categories of life that we're focused on. So if you really want to be married, or you really want to be a mom, or you really want to have a big successful company, or you really want to have the dream body that you've always desired, that's where the energy is going to go. And because there is a mind body connection now forming, that your conscious thought is saying, it's like imagining this is what I'm going to look like. And your emotional feeling body is like, oh my gosh, yes, wouldn't that be amazing? I would love to have that. Because this is a new identity forming in the body, you're having molecules of emotion that match the fantasy secrete from your brain. Your emotional vibrational aspect of energy is shifting. What's going to happen is that internally sets off an alarm of that inner child emotion that is the exact opposite to what your body is now being. So now we just created a disconnect between our adult self body and the emotion, the inner child body. That contrast sets out an alarm because what it's saying to the body is, this is not who I am. Now that there is a contrast of, wait, like I'm in all these fantasy vibes and fantasy emotions, but this is actually who I unconsciously am because I haven't dealt with it, that sets off the alarm. When the alarm in the body goes off, the ego is going to show up, the shadow is going to show up, the angry teenager is going to show up as the protector to not allow disappointment, the fears of not being good enough, the fears that we are unworthy of our desire. Those fears that come up are there because they validate the inner child's negative emotion of being bad or the world being unsafe. You with me? So we have the fantasy of the dream body. Our chemical emotional state on our earth body changes. Our conscious mind is changing. Our vibrational aspect of that works with the laws of the universe to bring things to us and create our reality is changed. It is opposite to the unconscious primitive state of the negative emotion the inner child felt when the feelings weren't validated or something was too overwhelming and nobody was there to witness it and help calm you down, which then causes the protection of the shadow. We can call it the angry teen, we can call it the ego, to come in, wreck shop, to make sure that this inner child's negative emotion of I am bad, valid. It's all to protect the negative emotion from being experienced as, yeah, that's who I am. And yeah, I don't deserve the desires of my heart because of the ways that we've made those feelings mean. And because as we've grown, you know, if this was something that happened at a very young age, as we went through kindergarten and first grade and primary school and elementary school and middle school and high school and college and into our early 20s, whatever it is that we are living, that we form attachments to because we notice something that we like, whatever we do to prevent the validation that we suck, it compounds this mindset and it creates an entire operating system that gets stronger as a mindset, which then dictates your reality and what you notice. So we become less and less of our soul, of feeling this sense of connection and knowing that we can create and knowing that emotion is just a way for us to understand the environment, because being human is a sensory experience. We get less and less connected to that and more attached to the physical world as confirmation of this negative emotion that is living in the nervous system by way of the inner child. And it's through the nervous system that we are going to see our ability to follow through, ghost, or even cause our sabotage that we're looking at here. So, number one, the fear of having and losing it. So, these fears that we end up interacting with, that our shadow, our angry teen, or our ego comes in to prevent us from getting closer to that dream body, that fear is if I have it and I lose it. This was a fear that I had um, after my neck injury, years after my neck injury, where and after I got through my inflammation, to where I had I lost 20 pounds in like 9 to 12 months. Like it just fell off of me because I was walking so much. I wasn't lifting weights. I was walking like 6 miles a day. And I was not eating really any junk food because the junk food was causing inflammation. So I lost weight right away to where it was easy to digest food. I felt really good. I didn't have my inflammation symptoms. I was getting my pain under control. I was healthy. And I had these moments where I was like, fuck, like I would really love to have my superhero dream body. I would really love to have the round shoulders, the tapered waist, and the bubble butt. I would love to have that. And there was part of me that thought, is that asking for too much? Because I got healthy. And there's people that are sick and that are worse conditions that are me, that are in a wheelchair, that are paraplegic. Is it too much for me to ask for more to get into my desired aesthetic? Isn't being healthy enough? And that fear, what I thought was going to happen was that if I was ungrateful, because I was deeming this desire as being ungrateful for the health I was experiencing. So, in this fear mindset, the story that I created was, if I get my aesthetic results, or if I make the commitment that, like, yes, like if I own it, if I say, yes, this is what I want to have my dream body, and these are the things that I'm going to do to get it, in my fear of unworthiness, I saw that I would have some other health crisis that would take me out, and I would be worse off than I was prior to getting healthy. And I saw that happening as a punishment to being ungrateful. So the fear of having it and then losing it showed up for me in a way that I made not being grateful for how far I had come, and then being punished for wanting more. That's how that fear showed up for me. The second belief that happens of the trigger is believing we are unworthy of our desire. And this is the effect of being invalidated. Because if we're a little child and we don't have a compassionate witness validate our emotions and our experience to say, like, yeah, like my feelings would be hurt too. Like, it's okay for you to feel this emotion. I could see how you would feel that. Not making the emotion right or wrong, but being like, yeah, like giving what you went through, that makes perfect sense. So when we don't have someone to say, like, you don't suck for having this emotion, you're not an evil person for being angry, you are not bad, you had no idea what you were doing because you were 4 years old, 8 years old, whatever. If we didn't have somebody do that, then that negative feeling turns into inner anger, which turns into depression. So the inner anger turns on the ego mindset to, you know, sit on a tuft with a gun, waiting for anybody that is going to come close to cause you harm, making you shoot first. That reaction to being invalidated causes us to then sabotage. So as soon as we start to see this dream body come closer to us, maybe the clothes are fitting a little bit better, the scale is going down, maybe you start to get attention from the sex that you are attracted to. Maybe you just get a nice compliment that's, not sexually based, that's not validating your desire to be in connection with someone romantically. As soon as that happens, the invalidation that we had that let us know that these little feelings or these big feelings that we had in a little body are okay to feel. It doesn't make us a bad person. Because we didn't have someone explain that these feelings don't mean that we're a bad person, when we start to see the results and we get to experience from the outside in, when we get to reap the rewards of our effort because now we're noticing that we are becoming our dream body, there's a little part of us that says, I'm actually not worthy of this. And whatever you do in a state of unworthiness is often a soothing thing that we do. So you could start to soothe yourself by Netflixing and chilling. You could soothe yourself by getting it in your head from the inner child and the inner teenager that I've been good, I deserve an allowance, right? But in this case, the allowance and the ability to go sleep over at a friend's or whatever it is that you get as a reward as a teenager for being good is ice cream, is a donut, is pancakes, is anything that's going to be the counter of whatever you did in your dream body habit acquisition. So it's the inner child and it's the teenager. The teenager starts to like negotiate. The shadow starts to negotiate. The ego starts to negotiate. I'm like, don't you think you deserve this? You've been so good. You've lost 5 pounds. You should totally go out for a splurge meal. And then the 5 pounds plus comes back on because your metabolism was not trained adequately in such a short amount of time to have an influx of food without understanding that it doesn't have to store it. This is the problem with the yo-yo dieting. If we restrict, splurge, restrict, splurge prematurely, not after you've been at it for a year, prematurely, your metabolism doesn't know what to do. And all it's sensing is feast or famine. I better hold on to this in the form of fat, energy, in case you deprive me of it for another 3 weeks. That's more of the mindset problems that happen that distort our thinking because of the emotional experience and how it's attached to the dream body. Let's talk about the physical problem. So one of the things is a bit of oxygen is restricted to parts of your body you've injured, causing a flare. So number one, this is from Dr. John Sarno that I learned when I had my neck injury. And what he says is when you are going to experience emotional pain, so maybe a repressed emotion is coming up, one that you disassociated with, that you have no idea is existing in your body. That repressed emotion, if it's going to come to the surface, your subconscious mind, as the protector, will cut off a little bit of oxygen to parts of your body that make sense to you to experience pain. So this is why we have the old injury flares when we're under stress. Because yes, it could be a chronic condition that we're trying to hit. Like we have a really chaotic work life. We are working 18 hours a day. We have so much pressure. That's chronic stress on your system. So that can cause your flare when you're just reaching that threshold of stress to where your subconscious mind is like, okay, motherfucker, what are you doing to yourself? Let's flare to get you to call in sick so that you can rest for a few days. But that rest is painful because the body has reached a threshold. And so, so if you find yourself having a flare when you set a goal for your dream body or you reach a milestone, that's part of the inner child to protective mechanics keeping you from achieving that goal. Degenerative to match the negative emotion of your fear molecules, degenerative molecules to match the emotion of your fear, secrete from your brain, causing inflammation. The subconscious mind controls the chemical production of emotion. Degenerative emotions break down tissue, cause inflammation. Regenerative emotions reverse age and make you feel good, the happy hormones. So when we set the goal or reach a milestone, that primitive mindset plus the protection fear will trigger the unconscious secretion of molecules of emotion. And all of a sudden, you feel terrible, you have inflammation, you're getting an upset stomach, you're not digesting well, you feel like crap, you get taken out. Maybe that inflammation causes you to gain weight and you're like, I'm not making any progress. And then seeing that number on the scale of inflammatory chemicals triggers you to sabotage even more because you feel like, well, what's the use? The vibrational outpicturing of your fear imagination into the universe creates distractions and complications. One of the things I believe that we are discovering in the age that we are in, not only because the entire world was shut down and put into fight, flight, freeze, and fawn, the entire world, this is unlike any time we have ever experienced before, because of so many of us looking at attachment theory and so many of us looking at the nervous system. I believe we are finding that it's not just the law of attraction that our subconscious mind is creating to attract things to us, but that our subconscious is the thing creating the reality, because there's a vibrational aspect of imagination that this is the thought that we've all heard about, that we send it out into the universe, and that our magnetic vibrational body attracts it to us. Yes, absolutely. That is a function of what's happening. But there are other universal laws at play, including that you are the creator of your own reality. You have created your entire life. Just look at the amazing things that you remember thinking about, that you would like to have, that you made happen. So we are creating our reality. And if we have this unconscious negative feeling in our body that says, I am bad, and then we have the or the subconscious fear, ego, shadow, angry teen that's going to negotiate and sabotage to make sure that you don't get this negative emotion validate that you are bad, that goes into the vibrational aspect of the brain too. So when we set that goal or we reach a milestone, that vibrational aspect happens too. Where, like, I've heard so many times from people, life got crazy and I couldn't make it to the gym. Life got crazy and I couldn't follow through with my meal prep. But what if that craziness of life that just happened out of nowhere is because that vibrational aspect of your co-creative ability with your mind operated unconsciously? So if you notice that shit gets real in any other area of your life when you set your goal or you reach a milestone, that might be part of the inner child and the protection. Last one, the dysregulation in your nervous system caused by conscious desire and unconscious fear triggers the fight flight response, which turns into stress, which breaks down every system in your body. This is the chronic illness. This is the chronic condition. This is fibromyalgia. This is chronic pain. When it is disassociated enough to the point where you don't know what that negative emotion is, everything looks great on paper. Everything looks great on paper. And you're taking supplements, you're going to sound baths, you're doing your meal prep, you're doing everything right, but still you have these ongoing issues. That is the effect of the nervous system really not being present in your body, because it's still like it feels like it feels like spikes. It feels like it's in, like in cute little comic books where there's like the jagged explosion type of an image on the comic strip. It's like your nervous system, the vagal nerve that runs, from your head down to your intestines, that thing is like in. And so it's causing havoc on all of your systems in your body, because that vagal in polyvagal theory is not connected. It's in its constant state of, I'm going to be eaten. So let me check out of my body so I don't feel it, which then causes you to just live your life running away from this emotion as that ego or your shadow, your perfectionist, high achiever mentality. But the more you're going away from this nervous system that's stuck in a negative emotion, the more disassociated your body gets. And the more your body does not understand, even on a cellular level, that it is all part of one organism, the more problems it's going to have. It's like if you were driving a car that the chase and the axle and the bottom of the car, if that was all loose, eventually if you're going in high speeds on the freeway, the car is gonna disassemble. It's gonna fall apart because it has no foundation of being together. Well, your cells, you have cells that cluster together and form your lungs. You have cells that cluster together and form your liver. These macro, so to speak, perspective of cells in the body don't know that they're part of another macro, which is your entire body. It's like us not understanding that we're connected to the macro of cosmology of the planets and the energy that they emanate. If everything is God, if everything is the ultimate and supreme reality, we are part of the macro, and our cells form a macro consciousness of a lung. But within those cells, there's the micro of the cell. And then within that cell, there's the micro of your DNA. So this dysregulation really causes so much problems. And so I want to share with you now how to correct this and what tools you can use in the Body Energetix system and the platform, that so that you can start to correct these issues if you're recognizing that any of these show up for you. We want to correct by putting on the mindset of a predator, a hunter of the ego, the fight, flight, feelings, and emotions. Now, there is an aspect of the spiritual community that's love and light. Don't talk about the darkness. There's this aspect of people looking at what's happening in the world and becoming literally disillusioned. Look up the governmental meaning of the Wizard of Oz. We are becoming disillusioned with the wizard. In this disillusionment of the wizard, there are people who are saying the darkness is coming to light in kind of an arrogant way. We have to go into the darkness because we are all of it, right? If God is the ultimate and supreme reality, the darkness is part of God also. You've done some bad shit to other people as a protection mechanism, and you've done some bad shit to yourself as a protection mechanism. We all have dark parts. So if we can actually use anger, our shadow, our ego, the angry teen, the protector, the life force energy, if we can channel that into conscious awareness that we are no longer going to use this bad emotion that we're bad people for having, instead of lashing out and letting it be uncontrollable, we actually be like, I'm going to use this motherfucking energy for myself. I am going to be the hunter. I am going to be the lioness. I am going to hunt down these fight, flight mindsets that are like angry little dragon lizards on whatever island they're on, running around biting people's ankles, making them sick because of the venom in their saliva. I am going to hunt down those motherfuckers. But it's not that you're hunting them down to punish them. You are hunting them down mindset is because you have the dream body and because you have tools that you are interested in using. This hunter mindset allows you to go through the process of using the habits, knowing that's where you are going to find the fight, flight, protection to the inner child sadness and disappointment and fears of being bad. So when you go into it like that, now all of a sudden you're empowered. You're like, I know shit's going to be hard. I know I'm going to struggle. I know it's going to I know it's going to cause contrast. But you know what? I'm ready. I've got the laws of the universe. I've got attachment theory. I've got polyvagal theory. I can proactively focus my energy into the tool because of my attachment to the dream body to allow these things to surface. And when they surface, I'm not going to attack them. I'm not going to kill them. I'm going to hug them. I'm going to be like, oh my God, here you are. What are you so upset about? What are you afraid of? Like, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? I'm white and people are going to say that I'm colonized fitness. Wait, but this is the body that you're born with. You have a 4'11" Jewish grandmother, and your other grandmother was 5'2" from Hungary. Oh, so really my fears are I have the Holocaust in my system and I have pagan genocide in my system. Yes, that's what you're afraid of. So then all of a sudden, you find out, I went with my macro level of ancestry, you find out that if you become who you want to be, because those experiences were traumatizing for your ancestors and that trauma gets passed on, your fear is really that you're going to be thrown into a chamber or you're going to have third-degree burns by the church. Do you know what that is? The church, the Catholic Church, put people's feet in a compartment thing and burn them to get them to profess the Catholic God as their God, even though they were already in balance with having a divine connection to the earth and to God, recognizing that we are all connected and all part of God and our God. So the third degree, that expression is actually coming from the church burning people to the third degree when they were not accepting this new iteration of God that's based on original sin, being a lowly sinner separate from God, and that is the only God. Therefore, you can dehumanize everybody else that is not of that belief. How fucked is that? Do you see the separation? Do you see my anger? But I'm doing it much more better, much more better. So when you get to find out like really the base of your fear, you don't have to go ancestry stuff like I did. You could really just go to, it's just like this time when maybe something happened when you were a kid and you were embarrassed, like you gave it your all and you totally screwed up. Maybe it was at a performance at school where you had a solo and you belted out the wrong lyric, or you just froze and you completely forgot. And you are so mortified because you practiced so hard, you gave it your all, and you got made fun of, you felt embarrassed, your friends picked at you. It could be that. And because that experience of you showing yourself and putting in effort is locked into your mind body, anything that you go to do that requires your effort and presenting a new package is going to have that same mindset. So there's my fear. Thank you so much, tracking my macros, for showing me that fear. This is the mindset. So the tools that you can use at bodyenergetix.com to help you reorganize all of this is nervous system regulation and breath work. That's module number 5. Module number 16, the dream body, because that goes into your charts where you can kind of tap into some larger macro themes, which could tie into your ancestry the way religion and government tied into mine. The body energetics coding system is number 17, and that's where we use the body parts that are dysfunctioning or that you don't like as a way to uncover an unconscious belief. So if you went dorsal, if you went totally disassociative, you don't understand what emotion you're dealing with. So you can just look at where it's showing up in your dislike, or where it's where it's not functioning or performing, where it's unhealthy, as a way for you to be like, does this resonate? Does this make sense? Do I feel that way? And when you find stuff that you're like, yeah, actually, I relate to that, then you're like, okay, cool. That might be part of the emotional experience. That might be the meaning you gave that emotional experience. So let's work with that for a little bit and see what comes up. And then last but not least is module 18 of attachment theory. And attachment theory, I'm going to go into some of the larger themes of masculine and feminine energetics, because this is how we learn the laws of the universe through the physical representation of a male and female caregiver, a masculine or a feminine caregiver, whichever energies they're embodying, and also symbolized through the physical form. The nervous system regulation, number 5, is going to have a light version of polyvagal theory, where we're really just looking at how it shows up in the habits, and then the in-depth understanding of polyvagal theory. Plus, you have meditations to get your nervous system regulated with breath work and tools like that. This is going to get you on the road to preventing your sabotage or your ghosting, whether it is because it's your behavior or because your body takes you out. These are the modules to start with. The more you get in there and watch the modules and check the box when you watch them, your leaderboard goes up, puts you in the running to be one of 3 people for the free coaching call. This platform has a social media-ish vibe to it, of a wall, of like a Facebook wall, but it's categorized. So whatever's coming up for you that you need support with, you just click on the category that this question that you have applies to, so that we can be super organized so that you can get these results as soon as possible. Part of fitness is being organized and disciplined. So we're going to apply that mentality that you're going to have to use in your life and in your habits to getting the support that you need. This is going to be, or it is a place for you to experience reparenting and to get validation. And when you start to have that mirrored back to you, that resonance with me, that I understand your pain. I might not have had the same experience, but the emotion and the ramifications of the emotion and the feelings and judgments that we have about ourselves because of it, I will probably relate to and probably have a physical health issue that I had to overcome because of that emotion. So I can support you in a very unique way. And I'd love for you to join the leaderboard. The leaderboard drops down to 0 every single month. So every single month, you have a chance to win that coaching call. So that is your episode for today. I hope this was helpful. If it was helpful, please share it on social media. Tag me at Body Energetix with an X, at Lauren Saracione. I'll reshare you to my stories. Join the group, invite your friends. Let's do this together. We can all heal ourselves. We can all achieve our dream body, and then we can all heal that connection that we have with other people and the triggers and the world and our relationship to God. And like, it's everything's going to be like, yes, we are the law of one. We are all connected. I am co-creative. I am in this. I am valid. I deserve. I am worthy. All those things. All right. I'll see you in the group.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you found it helpful, please give me a 5-star rating and review. Share it with your friends. Tag me on social media at Body Energetix with an X or at Lauren Saracione, and I'll reshare you to my story. We'll see you in the Body Energetix community at bodyenergetix.com.